Hi everybody. So I'm a little bit sick today. My voice is a wee bit croaky, but I'm going to read through gender roles and then I'm going to go through the different quotes that you can use for gender roles in Macbeth. All right, so I'm just going to read this and we're going to talk about highlighting different bits and pieces. If you've already done this bit, you can skip it and go straight to the quote section about halfway through this video. All right, Macbeth presents complex gender roles that challenge and subvert traditional Jacobean ideals through Lady Macbeth and the Weird Sisters. Now, when we talk about Jacobean, we're talking about King James I, remember, and the time period in which Macbeth was written. Lady Macbeth is one of the most compelling figures in the play. So she's the first one that we deal with gender roles because she clearly is the one who's most transfixed with her own traits as well as what makes a man. So, Lady Macbeth is one of the most compelling figures in the play, clearly subverting or challenging typical feminine roles of the time by showing certain qualities we would often see in the Machiavellian villain. Now, here, this is important. She is a Machiavellian villain at the start, but towards the end, her traits start to shift. So, if you're going to call her a Machiavellian villain, make sure that you say she has traits of the villain because at the end she feels guilty, which a Machiavellian villain normally wouldn't feel. All right, she is characterized by her ruthless ambition and desire for power, which she associates with masculinity. In her famous soliloquy in Act 1, Scene 5, she implores the spirits to unsex me here, asking to be stripped of feminine qualities such as compassion and nurturing, representing her belief that such traits are obstacles to her ambition. So it's not necessarily that she wants to not be a woman anymore, it's just that she wants to be able to be free in the traits that she feels a man has. So she wants to be free to be cruel and violent instead of nurturing like a woman is expected to be. Her manipulation of Macbeth paradoxically underscores her awareness of traditional gender roles and her rejection of them. She challenges his masculinity by questioning his bravery and resolve, thus showing that she is well aware of how he is supposed to act within their context, accusing him of being weak because he doesn't wish to kill the king. Her actions throughout the play not only subvert the power dynamics typically expected in relationships at the time, but also suggest that ambition and power are linked to masculinity. So she suggests that ambition and power are linked to being a man. Because she eventually takes her own life and descends into madness, some critics have argued that although Shakespeare creates a character of great strength at the start of the play, he also punishes her for those actions at the end, and by extension, for her own ambition to step outside of her female role. All right, the next lot of characters who shift gender expectations and conventions at the time are the witches or the weird sisters. The three witches subvert traditional femininity through their powerful nature, described through both supernatural and malevolent traits as they challenge the patriarchal order and the chain of being. So, really important if we're talking about context here, how Lady Macbeth and the witches both challenge the patriarchal order of men who are in charge. Because it's Lady Macbeth and the Weird Sisters who manipulate Macbeth the most. Their prophecies suggest that women, even in unconventional forms, can wield significant influence over men and their fates. And rather than embodying the nurturing and passive traits associated with femininity, they exhibit qualities of manipulation and authority. For instance, their ability to foresee the future positions them as figures of knowledge and authority, a role typically reserved for male characters in Elizabethan and Jacobean drama. The fact that the three witches function as a collective entity rather than individual characters also emphasizes a sense of unity and shared purpose, which can be interpreted as a commentary on female solidarity. Their chants and rituals reinforce their bond and the idea that women can wield influence. The witches' interactions with Macbeth, in particular, reveal their ability to undermine his masculinity, as he becomes increasingly dependent on their prophecies and his wife's encouragement. So Lady Macbeth's ability to manipulate his um, ambition or his actions due to his own ambition and hers um, basically drives him to his downfall along with his own hamasha, which is his want to be king. But it's the witches who kick everything off. So finally, the portrayal of the witches reflects fears surrounding female power at the time, especially in the context of witch hunts and societal scrutiny of women who deviated from societal norms. In a patriarchal society, women who exhibited ambition or independence were often demonized. The witches personify this fear, embodying the threat posed by women who refused to conform. Watching them on stage in the 1600s would have been the equivalent of us going to a horror film today. Like, they would have been really scary for an audience watching them because people believed witches were a real thing. Macbeth. Now we're looking at him and how his masculinity is questioned, or what the ideal man would be in this time period. So Macbeth is initially portrayed as a brave warrior, conforming to the ideals of masculinity in his society. So bravery and being a warrior are seen as being like honorable traits for a man. However, as the play progresses, he becomes increasingly influenced by Lady Macbeth's ambition and the supernatural prophecies of the Weird Sisters. His internal struggle reflects a tension between his ambition and his moral qualms, blurring the lines of gender expectations. So a man is supposed to be honourable, a man is not supposed to be selfish. Macbeth is selfish in his ambitions to kill the king. His descent into tyranny reflects a distortion of traditional masculinity as he becomes increasingly reliant on violence and power rather than honour and bravery. Okay, so now I've found the quotes for you. We wrote them on the board, but I'm actually going to go through them. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to tell you what techniques are in them. Then I'm going to tell you what they mean. And you need to summarize them for yourselves. So, come you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. So this is Lady Macbeth speaking. When she says, come you spirits, there's two things she's using. One is apostrophe. So an apostrophe is when we talk to an inanimate object or something that's not really there. So like I could talk to this tissue box and I could say, could start speaking to it, and I would be using apostrophe because I'm talking to an inanimate object. Lady Macbeth is talking to the spirits. So first, apostrophe is used to show that Lady Macbeth is willing to undergo supernatural means in order to help her ambition, and that links in with supernatural themes later on as well. So, come ye spirits that tend on mortal thoughts. Now, this is the gender bit. Unsex me here. Lady Macbeth isn't literally saying, make me a man. She's saying that she wants the freedom and agency to be able to have the traits that a man has and to meet her ambition in having those traits. So basically, she wants to be able to be ruthless. She wants to be able to be a villain. She wants to be able to be cruel and cunning and all those things that a man is supposed to be, or she believes a man is supposed to be, but she can't do it because she's a woman. And at this time, women are seen to be nurturing and kind and caring and all those kinds of things. So here she says, fill me from the crown to the top toe full. And at the end here, we've got hyperbole of direst cruelty. So by hyperbole, she's exaggerating the kind of cruelty that she wants to have because she realizes that in order to gain the crown, or in order for her husband to gain the crown and for her to become queen, she needs to be cruel and her ambition needs to be met through cruelty. Okay, so we're looking at apostrophe and we're looking at hyperbole in that one. Oh, and the other one, when she says this, it's all said through soliloquy. So Lady Macbeth's soliloquy and her use of apostrophe and her use of hyperbole are the things that allow us to understand that she really wants to be able to own traits that people would see as being masculine. All right, let's go to page. Okay, so if you want to pause the video here, go back and forth and try and work out what I've said and write it down as a summary of your own for that quote. So you can copy the quote, write down the techniques that I've told you about, and then you analyze it or summarize what I've said. All right, page 15, line 47. Macbeth says, okay, so this is after Lady Macbeth has found out what the witches have said. She's gotten the letter about Macbeth's wish, or what he's found out from the witches and his wish to sort of become king, maybe. And she and he are having a conversation about what makes a man and what actions she believes he needs to undertake in order to become king, which we know is regicide. Okay. Macbeth says, I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none. Basically, what he's saying here is, I dare to only do honourable thing in being a man. So earlier he said, Duncan is a good man. He's been a good king to me. I don't necessarily want to kill him. It would be dishonourable to do so. So this bit here, who dares do more is none. He's saying basically, excuse me, that a real man, an honourable man, would not commit regicide. Okay, so here's where all our techniques are. My highlighter's gone away. Okay, so here's where all our techniques are. So Lady Macbeth replies to him, "What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me?" So, what beast was it then? She's using metaphor because the beast is actually something that's within Macbeth. What beast was it in you, she says, that made you tell me that you could become the king? So the beast is a metaphor for Macbeth's inner ambition, right? Beast becomes a metaphor for ambition. Then she says, and she uses a question. It's not necessarily rhetorical because she's the one, because they kind of go back and forth in dialogue and this question gets answered. But what was it, through her question, she says, what was it that made you tell me that you could become king? It's your ambition, and you need to meet your ambition by being a man, right? That's what she's saying is that his ambition, his cruelty, and his cunning is what makes him a man. And that's what we get through this question and through this metaphor. Now I'm looking at page 16, lines 72 to 74. So Macbeth, after having this conversation with Lady Macbeth up here, um, basically says to her, wow, you are intensely cruel and you are intensely courageous. And basically, he's saying to her that I wish for us, or I want for you to only bring forth men children because you are tough. So he's saying that every child she has, he hopes is a boy or becomes a man. So he says to her, bring forth men children only. This technique is an imperative. It's not necessarily an order that he's giving her, but he is suggesting or telling her that she needs to bring forth men children only because her undaunted mettle or her courageous and unfailing characteristics should compose nothing but males. He's saying your toughness, where he says undaunted mettle, your toughness will come through in the boys that you are able to give birth to, which is ironic because that never actually happens. So what this does, and this technique, or this quote particularly does, it sets a tone of awe. So the tone is that Macbeth is kind of not in fear of his wife, but he's in awe of his wife. And that kind of leads to the fact that she's able to bully him into doing what he does when he kills Duncan. So the idea here is that the imperative, bring forth men children only, and the description of her undaunted mettle shows us tone of awe and makes us realize that Macbeth is actually kind of, you know, wants to do what his wife wants him to do because he believes she's doing the right thing and she's tough, tougher than him. Okay, so now we're moving on to page 70, Macduff. Okay, now the reason that I've put Macduff in here is because, as we've said before, Macduff is a foil. And a foil is a character that acts as the opposite of another character in order to make them seem even more exaggerated. So Macduff is there to make Macbeth look even worse, right? So Macduff, towards the end, he comes to blows with Macbeth. So he's about to kill Macbeth. And when they're just before they go into their final battle, he says, yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee as our rarer monsters are. So there's a whole lot of metaphor here, and there's insults coming through here. So coward. This insult is an insult against Macbeth's masculinity. So you remember at the beginning of the play, he was called Brave Macbeth. Now, juxtaposition or the opposite is happening. He's being called a coward. Macduff says, and live thee to be the show and gaze of the time. So he's saying, I'm going to take off your head and you're going to be the one that we all see and we use as an example of what not to be and what sort of man not to be because you have now become a coward. And at the end, he uses the metaphor of the monster. We'll have thee as our rarer monsters are. So the metaphor of monster is used as a description for Macbeth. So there's two things happening here in terms of gender. The first one is that Macduff is showing us what an honourable man is, because he's the one that's getting rid of the tyrant. He's the one that eventually kills the tragic hero, and he's the one that sets everything to rights in the kingdom because he's able to get rid of Macbeth. And the second thing is that it shows how far Macbeth has come down from being that brave and honourable man that he is at the start. And we realize that masculinity is defined by your honor and your courage. Okay, that's it. Good luck.